Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Weekly WP Roundup with BJ Keeton. I'm BJ Keeton, and we are going to go through all of the best news, tutorials, and resources that we were able to find this week that were published about WordPress. So make sure that you open the description of this video so that you see all the links that we're going to be talking about. Make sure that you talk in the comments. We try to have an interactive show and get to know each other. So if you have any questions or comments or just want to say hi, feel free. Make sure that that you say hi and we can get to know each other. So I wanted to start out by saying thank you for showing up. I always appreciate that. I'm seeing on Facebook that it's not displaying video, but on my end it is looking at Facebook, so I don't know what the problem is that, Santosh. So if anybody else is having that, let me know how you fix that, because on mine it's showing that I have video there. So diving right in, I want to let you guys know that there is quite a bit of news this week. This wasn't like a major week on it, but there's a lot of things that that are really cool and important that I thought would be something that y'all would want to know about. So first of all, there is a WordPress 5.0 retrospective that the team has put together, looking back at the development and the release of WordPress 5.0. And you probably know that best by Gutenberg or the block editor. I mean, the last major release where everything was kind of going haywire. There was tons of drama about it. I mean, it was just crazy how much people were both complaining about it and really pushing it forward. It just got everybody all riled up. So what they've done is they took a survey. They really wanted to know what people thought, like what was going well with the WordPress development, what they did well in putting Gutenberg and the block editor in place, and what they could do better, what kind of issues were there, and what did they need to work on in the future that could have made these kind of releases and collaborations work a lot better. So if you click the very first link under the description, you'll be taken to the wrap up and the retrospective that they did on that, and it's really interesting to look at. It's really seeing some of the stuff that that people were talking about were mainly, like at the beginning, they talk about documentation. They talk about these practices and documentation, and they talk about how they're not communicating well, and that was a big issue with the community, the WordPress community at large, is that we didn't feel as though we were getting any kind of representation, and they were just making these decisions from on high. So they're trying to take that kind of stuff and move with it, move forward with it, and take those into consideration. They also have some process and then things that they're going to take up and really look at, like more effective milestone management, like not adding features after they've got a beta release up. Just really try to work on fixing all of that, which that was a huge thing with like Gutenberg itself, was that they were trying to fix bugs at the same time they were implementing features, and so it was a headache. And so they were also talk about things that they're going to stop. And the number one is something that I think a lot of you will be happy to hear, is that they're going to stop doing so much stuff in private. That a lot of decisions were made behind the scenes by people who are not us, who are not honestly in the who are in the WordPress community and contribution space, and they weren't included in it. So they're going to stop doing that in private as much. Some things they say need to be done in private, but there are going to be a lot more open and transparent measures taken so that we can see what's going on and voice our opinions on this open source software that we all kind of make our livings on. There's a ton more. There's a lot more in this link, so make sure that you click through it and read it. It is just a bunch of bullet points. There's not a lot of discussion about them. There are comments about it that you can read down at the bottom, but this isn't a a 1,200 page report or something. This is a bulleted list of things that we can see that are going on in WordPress right now that we should all be aware of in some way, just skimming over a list of bullet points. So hopefully you'll find that interesting. I see that there are a lot of comments, so I want to recognize that. Some people are saying that they're seeing everything on Facebook fine. That's good. I haven't seen anything on YouTube saying that, so I'm very glad. I see tons of people on. That's fantastic. Shantosh is still having issues with it. I think there might be something up with your connection or browser, Shantosh. I am terribly sorry. It seems to be working on these and in a second browser for me as well. So hi everybody. I've seen a ton of people from Bangladesh and Germany and Cyprus and Senegal. That is just awesome seeing everybody in here. And I see on Facebook that Uncle Social says that Jennifer's saying that she can see. She's my wife, commented saying that she can see the picture fine. Uncle Social, she's at work and I'm only at home, so it does work differently, completely separate. Yeah. But I see. I'm just so glad to have everybody here. I see that there's a question on Facebook from Umesh. I'm going to mispronounce that. I apologize. I think Divi having no Woocommerce themes. Can you please explain? We are coming out with a Woocommerce update soon. I'm not sure on the exact release date, but I would look for it relatively soon from what I was told. And while it's not an entire theme, because we're basing, Extra and Divi are really our flagship products, I think you'll be happy with the Divi WooCommerce modules and issues, not issues, and elements that are coming in. So you'll be very happy with that. I'm sorry, my mouth gets so dry when I'm talking. See if I missed anything. Just before I get into the next one, I always want to make sure that I don't miss anything or leave anybody out if I possibly can. So I think I'm caught up just for the moment. Yes. So I want to go in on letting you guys know about WordCamp. I've mentioned this before. I'm a huge proponent of all of the WordCamps. If you are near a WordCamp, they actually tell you when you log into WordPress now, which it's a module off to the right. They'll tell you any upcoming events, and they include WordCamps. But WordCamp US is coming up this year in October. And no, it's November. Excuse me. It's November 2nd, I believe. And so we're tickets are on sale. It's a fantastic, fantastic conference. It is the national one for the United States, and it is the one where Matt Mullenweg, the creator of WordPress, gives his State of the Word address and talks about what kind of year we've had, what kind of year he expects to have next year, and anything that really we as a community need to know about, need to think about. This is where he told us to learn JavaScript deeply, and as we can see, that is a very important thing for all of us. But the reason I bring this up is that WordCamp US now has tickets on sale. These do sell out. I don't expect them to sell out for months yet, but I wanted to let you guys know that the entire conference is $50, $50 US, and that if you're able to make it in St. Louis, Missouri this year, I think it is just a delightful conference, because it is everyone who cares about WordPress in one place, like a lot of people who care about WordPress in one place, being friends. And yeah, there are magnificent panels. There are so many talks and panels and things like that you'll see and learn just everything there. But there are so many people there that the last time I went in 2017, I didn't go to a single panel. It was just interacting with you guys, and it was fantastic. I know that we're looking at going right now. We'll see, crossing our fingers that I'll be able to be there this year, and some of the other Divi folk. And our very own Raquel Landefeld is working on the organizing team for WordCamp US. So it is absolutely fantastic. So y'all check that out. Throw your $50 in, and if you can, show up to WordCamp US. It is great. And if we are there, there will be Divi Nation meetups, and specifically with us to be able to meet you guys, hang out, and do that kind of stuff. So they're on sale now, and you don't want it to sell out. I see Uncle Social says, speaking of WordPress keeping its users in the dark, a bit more openness from elegant themes would be great. Just a timeline for releases. And I agree, and I don't think that's possible. And I say this, and I know there are rolled eyes out there, and it's because of the way that these releases are going, and I don't think that there is a timeline necessarily on it. There are general times that it's not like this release, then this release, because of the large size of our development team. But that is something that we're aware people would like, and pretty much every time there is a release post, Nick will get into the comments and talk about what's upcoming very soon. But I understand the frustration on that. And I see, I'm going to mispronounce this one, Rasayanel, I'm so sorry. Adam is saying that Divi's a slow theme. And when that comes up, I always want to suggest that you make sure that your JavaScript and CSS are minified, and that you are removing any query strings that you've got from external media, and then that you want to optimize your images, because Divi itself shouldn't be adding very much bloat at all to your site. That it may be things that are easy to take care of, but don't just get taken care of by default. Those are the three things that I've had, and loading a lot of external scripts at once. I know that there are people in the comments who have had really high success rates at getting super fast Divi sites, so maybe they can give some tips on that one. But I see, let's see, let me check the Facebook comments. For some reason, Facebook doesn't scroll the comments up. I actually had to manually scroll them. It's super weird. But moving into other news, this isn't directly WordPress related, but it's something that you guys need. WP Tavern put an article up showing that Creative Commons has a new image search engine that gives you full attribution for the images, that you can find pretty much anything that is Creative Commons licensed to use in your posts, on your site, that kind of thing. So check that out. It's updated, and they have made a lot of improvements to finding Creative Commons stuff. So it's really good. I was playing around with it today, and some really obscure words that I decided to type in just to see if there were images like that really came up with it, and they were contextual. So y'all need to check that out if you're looking for more stock images, or and since they're not necessarily stock, Creative Commons. So that one was one that I just wanted y'all to know about, to take advantage of, because you're not always able to pay for Shutterstock or anything like that. That said, I'd mentioned at WordCamp US, Matt gives his state of the word address, which tells what's going on for the next year. And I ran across an article that Tom Rankin did, is for 9 projects that are still upcoming for 2019 that he had talked about last year at WordCamp US, where there are a lot of updates that should be coming this year to the block editor. And it's going to be, I don't want to say disruptive, because that's not quite the right word for it, but it's going to be there's going to be a learning curve for some of these. So I wanted to make sure that you're aware of what's coming, just very briefly. That they're creating a navigation menu block, which I know that you guys were mentioning last week about liking more navigation menu options. So with Gutenberg putting a block in for navigation menus, it looks like that's going to be a way that you'll be able to style a little bit differently and use that. And so hopefully you'll have fun doing it. And there will be other plugins that work with it. They're also, the second one on the list is porting all of the WordPress widgets over to blocks. This is the big one. I want to make sure that any of you who develop plugins, any of you who use any plugins that work with sidebar widgets, that you're aware of this, that those widgets are going to turn into blocks eventually, and so you'll need to be able to work on your site somehow just to make sure that everything stays even and working like it already is. And then they're making sure that all widget editing areas support blocks. I mean, going hand in hand with that, you can't really say, hey, I'm going to put all of these things as blocks and then not let people put blocks where their widgets were. So those go hand in hand. There are other things that they're talking about, making health check plugins. The health check plugin part of core, they're talking about giving more ways to automatically update plugins and themes and WordPress core. And I know some of you guys are cringing at that. Y'all are looking at it and being like, I don't want that. My clients don't want that. That is crazy. It'll surely will be able to toggle it off, but they're wanting to make that easier for the people who do want it. So check that. That is on the horizon, but I wouldn't be worried about it being mandatory. I don't know why I said that. And then they want a better way to search and add blocks on WordPress.org and get people answering tickets more on core and on track. So that kind of stuff is coming I won't say very soon, but we should be on the lookout since we're already in May now. We should be looking for some of these changes relatively soon. Before I move into the tutorial section, like that was all the news that I had. Like I said, there was stuff in the news that I wanted you to know about, but none of it was like rock your world, change everything that you're doing kind of news. But it's just stuff that you should progressively get used to and think about. I see that there's a lot of comments on YouTube I want to get to. So Uncle Social recommends the WPMU dev plugin called Hummingbird that speed tests every aspect of your site and scores it in all areas. That's really cool. I'm going to try that. I like the idea of that. And Uncle Social says that he's always used the Flickr Creative Commons search, and it used to be great until Yahoo ruined Flickr. But this one does pull Flickr images into it. During my searches today, that Creative Commons search did pull a bunch of Flickr images. So hopefully you'll be able to get some more use out of that. And I see Shanur ask if there are any new updates. It's 1 a.m. There in India, which I appreciate you tuning in at 1 a.m. I am dead asleep by 1 a.m. But in terms of Divi updates, you should be looking for some soon-ish. I haven't seen a release schedule or anything, but there are some directly in the pipeline that are coming for, say, the Woocommerce widgets and things like that. I say Woocommerce widgets because I've been talking about widgets, but the Woocommerce update for Divi should be soonish. And William Patton says, on the theme review team is still concerned about proposed changes to widgets and sidebars. Are there any specific concerns that you've seen about the widgets and sidebars changing like that? Because I would love to know like specific ones that the theme review team is looking at. I'm always curious about that because I don't read all of the forums or GitHub and track issue threads, so I love hearing about that kind of thing. So if you know any specifics, let me know. So I want to move into the tutorials now. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you came in late, we've got through the news, and you can always go back and watch the beginning of this video going through it. Whenever this video ends, and it will be archived on YouTube and Facebook as well. My brain really just left where I was saying, but if you're new to the show, what we do is move from that into the tutorials and then the resources, which if I have time, because as you can tell, I ramble just a little bit and get excited about different topics. So the first one under here is I absolutely had to call it out. I had to give this blog a highlight on the very top of the elegant themes that Jason put out an article that's a helpful guide for designing circular elements in Divi. And I love this. Circular elements, I love. I love seeing circles on sites. I don't know what it is, but when I see a circle on site, I'm like, you're a good web developer. And I see it, and I'm like, that's great. I'm very not good at implementing and using them myself, and Jason has a way to show, to really get the different elements and modules set to be circular, and using the content, using that shape to really highlight the content. There, like I've said before, and y'all know, Jason is a wizard at Divi, and finding the things to do with it is just absolutely crazy. So I think y'all should totally check that out. I see Umesh asks how to resolve the top header issue. Clients are asking for different options to add in a top header, but customizations having 2 options for phone and email. Our header customizer should be coming soon. We'll have the theme customizer out, and you'll be able to work on that. If you're needing yeah, Uncle Social actually says that if you're needing to add phone and email to the very top icons, Josh Hall has a really good post on that on the Divi blog. And then if you need it, like I said, if you're waiting on the theme customizer where you'll be able to do a lot more stuff with the header, that should be coming up pretty soon. So hopefully, at least. I don't know a specific date. The next thing I wanted to talk about under tutorials was how to write great calls to action. So make sure that you click that link, y'all. That's what they do, actually, in the headline of this one. It's how to write great calls to action with examples. Click here now. And I love that they put click here now on it. I don't know why, but it tickled me when I saw it. So I just had to call it out. But the thing about calls to action is everybody tries to do calls to action right. And so many people fail at it. So many people write calls to action that don't call anybody to action. They get ignored because they're like everybody else's. There's stuff that we've seen over and over and over again. And so they're going through from the beginning to the end, showing like, what does a call to action do? It's more than just saying, hey guys, click here. It's more than just saying, hey, you get some free stuff. There's a lot to it where you have to provide information about it. You have to let people know what they're getting into. I mean, you have to set their expectations. And then if the one that I thought was great about what under this particular section was for effective usage of calls to action, it helps tremendously to understand your client's hesitations and objections. This is huge. Because y'all, we react differently to different things. And I was reading a comment today on the Elegant Themes blog about how people are so hesitant to give emails for any kind of download or a thing like that, that even though it's free, you're still giving up your email address. And I understand that. And so if you're doing something like this, if you have a call to action and you're trying to get people to do it, if your audience is really, really private, if you're dealing with, and your industry, let's say, is dealing really a lot with privacy and that kind of thing, security, you may not want to try to get them to sign up for an email list. I mean, they may not trust the privacy of somebody holding that kind of information. So it's just stuff like that. How to start them out after you figured that out. Like, make sure that you start it with a command verb. This is where the English guy in me comes out. Like, you need to have it some sort of action doing this. It's like writing a resume where you have 1,000 different synonyms for what you've done for saying, I did this. That's kind of what you want in a call to action. They say, shop, order, purchase, subscribe, register, join, Make friends. I think one that I used that worked pretty well to get email subscription was Be My Friend. And people were like, all right, I'll be your friend, BJ. And it worked. I got a lot of subscriptions from that because it's something different, but it's still it's still putting the impetus to take action on them. Talks about appealing to emotion and telling stories. Talk about numbers. For some reason, people really respond to numbers. Y'all know that, like list posts, things like that are crazy popular. Also, people sign up for lists if you say, why don't you join the other 330,000 people on this email list? And you're like, oh, if that many people are doing it, what am I missing out on? And so then you do it. Numbers make people sign up for stuff. So just stuff like that. They go through a lot more, but I want to move on. But their examples on this are really top notch and show that if you implement these, that hopefully you'll have more conversions by doing this. It's really something that we all do wrong at times, and it's something that we could all take advantage of learning more about. I see Judy on YouTube actually saying it best. She says, in quotes, "A link is a promise." And that's really true, that if I take the time to click a link that you provide on your page, it means I trust that website enough to check out something that you either recommend or that I'm interested enough in that topic to go somewhere else to continue reading about that topic or doing whatever that link is. And you get one shot at that. You get one shot to impress most people on that promise that you're going to hold up to it. So building up that trust is absolutely imperative, because Judy's right. It is a promise. I see a lot of people on Facebook that I missed. Saying hi, ask about updates to Divi. Hi, Clark. Bunches of people there. So the third one, I put this is not a tutorial. The 3 services your business needs to invest in. This is not a tutorial post. It is a typical list post showing things that a business should invest money in and time and energy. They talk about privacy and security. They talk about accountancy, where dealing with finances, and they deal with information technology, IT issues. The reason that I put this in the tutorials is I see this as an opportunity for you guys to expand your services, or at least to think about expanding your services. Whether you're freelancing as a developer, whether you have maintenance contracts and retainers, whatever it is that you do, these are 3 of the big points that businesses will spend money on. That if you don't provide tech support, like IT support, maybe consider doing that. Sure, you may get some really obnoxious calls. You may get some absolutely ridiculous things that people say or ask or claim is happening that their computer is doing. But they're paying you for it. The same goes for privacy and security. It's if you can work that kind of thing into your bundle that you work with them, if it's an add-on to whatever services you provide to give enhanced security, to do whatever you do with the scans and backups and all of it, working with secure email, however, anything that you do, that might be something to add that you could then provide a service that is absolutely necessary for them. And the accountancy is probably one that I don't think a lot of us would want to get into. But for those with the expertise, I guess, I've known people who actually manage QuickBooks for businesses. Different businesses have hired people, I know, to just manage their finances and keep all the books straight. They're not doing it like an accountant. They're not doing the the major things like that, but they're working with the finances, keeping everything straight, and it has worked well for those people managing those as a full-time job, or at least as part-time gigs that make up to a full-time job. It's interesting if you can build up the trust with somebody to do that. I wasn't doing that in particular with one of my clients, but one of my clients actually, right before I got the job here at Elegant Themes, actually was getting me to fix their QuickBooks, that I was working on making sure like simplifying and getting everything into a much better space, like getting it streamlined, and so that their books could be kept a little bit better. It's not unheard of to do stuff like that, and they were paying me for it. I mean, it wasn't something that I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start working in QuickBooks. But it was something that I knew how to do, and because I had that skill, I was able to offer that, like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, yep, sure can. It was very, very, very interesting to me to think about. And when I saw this as accountancy, I'm like, hey, I've done stuff like that. So I just consider that kind of stuff. And in this vein, there's a comment on Facebook. Devjeet, I'm going to mispronounce that, I'm sorry, says, can you discuss a weekly roundup chapter where you discuss how we start online WP businesses? That would be awesome help for a startup like you. And then what to do and what not to do are huge things for a freelancer like me. First of all, I know I've discussed part of this before, and I don't remember which episode it is, and so I'm going to feel really bad about saying it, but go check some of the archives and look in the, for this, there's a playlist on YouTube that you can see some of the links that were on there about different businessy type links under the tutorials and resources. That way you could always, even if you don't want to watch all of the old videos, the links are still there in the descriptions. And then doing that, Uncle Social is right. The Divi chat channel, also divi.chat, they have videos like stuff like that. They do a live one every week, like he says. They do that. There's also WP the podcast. But one thing that I can say about starting online businesses, and I know that other people have said this before, Video also says that he can't hear me. Can other people hear me? Because this is a weird thing where I'm showing audio on my end. I'm showing that the mic is registering through both the mixer and the okay, cool. It says that did that work any differently? Video, did that change for the sound not having echo? Yeah, that might have changed it and made it a little bit better that way, right? If not, tell me. This is crazy. I hate my mic. Did that get cleaner and louder now? About that? That's right. That's worse. Okay, I'm going to go back. Sorry. Okay, so this is what it was before showing. It should be about right here. There we go. Now, talking about the small biz and freelancer stuff, like William Patton said 3 or 4 weeks back. Let me see where they were. The first thing to consider is what services you want to offer, like what you're actually getting into. And I don't think what you are looking for in general, like you said, that you might not know what to offer and what not to offer. And yes, it is really live. And so what you might want to not offer, start small with what you do want to offer. Like if all you want to do is build websites, if what you want to do is go in and make people beautiful websites but not deal with like plugin updates and things like that, you can absolutely do that. You can, but focus in on what you're good at. For me, when I started out, it was I did website building and design. I would do maintenance contracts because I knew the back end of WordPress. And then I also offered up content creation. If people wanted me to, because I'm a writer, I was, because I was a writer, I could do copy, I could edit whatever content they had there. I taught English for like 9 years. So I can do that kind of thing because that's where my skills were. So I offered that up to them as well. Some people took it, some people didn't. But think about what you're good at, what you can do, and we will, and what you can do, and then you can really focus in on what works and what doesn't. They were, let me think, I can't remember any of the other things that I've really talked about in the past, but that would be where I started with it. But that's something that, to get you started, I hope to do that. And think about your rates. One thing that we end up all doing is charging too little. If you are starting out, make sure that you're charging what you're worth. Whatever it is, look at industry standards. And even if you're going to undercut somebody by a little bit, if you say that the standards where you are gets like $75 an hour, and you charge $65, that's fine, but you need to make sure that you're not charging $25 or something like that, that you still need to charge a professional rate because people will see you more as a professional that way. It's odd and it's silly, but it's true. So I'm hoping that maybe that helps a little bit. Oh, I see Judy says the WPElevation.com is a great place to start with. They're a WordPress consulting business. I've seen them. I've liked them, their stuff as well. That is I like their website too. I see Is It says, thought Divi was huge. I like you a lot too. But something ain't right because we have live right this. A lot of the viewers on this tend to come afterwards once it's archived on the page and shows up on Facebook as well. We're also streaming to Facebook at the same time. And then also a lot of people haven't signed up for notifications. It's different now. YouTube changed it, and so did Facebook. You have to tell them when you want to know if a page you've subscribed to goes live. So everybody in the audience now, ring that bell. But I see Devjeet says, how can I get the standards? It depends on the customer or like area rates. I've looked at different things like Glassdoor.com. I've Googled straight up what average salaries are. Talk to people in your area. If there are any meetups that you can go to, that's a great place to ask. There is an official WordPress Slack channel, and there are a ton of WordPress Slacks out there that you can get into. There are some posts on the Elegant Themes blog that are like design and development communities that you could get into. One thing that I've done for that is really just talk to people. Whenever I found out, I had one of my best friends was a freelancer, and I started out, and he said that his rate was started at 65, then new clients were 70, then after that new clients were 75, and that he was charging way too little for the amount of work that he did for them and the kinds of work. And then I talked to somebody else right after I started freelancing and told me that you can't make a living on that and that they didn't take less than $150 an hour to do web design and consulting. So, I mean, and that was all, that's all in the US and getting clients online generally rather than locally. So the standards are a little differently than if you're taking on lower, not lower, but local clients. You'll also have some where I know that you can always say, the way that I always put it to somebody, I learned this from Tobias Buckell, the science fiction author, is that say what your range is to somebody. When they're talking to you, say, I've been paid as little as this and as much as this for for a similar kind of project to this. That way it lets people know what your range is and whether or not you're even in their budget. That's worked out really well for me. I have lost potential clients before because of that, but those are clients who I wouldn't have been able to make a reasonable living off of having either. So find out what you need to live, what you need to really make the minimum living that you are willing to take, and then figure out what that would mean you have to do during a typical work week, considering that you're not going to have a 40-hour work week most of the time, or at least a full docket the entire time, so you'll need a little bit built up. So you'll want to charge probably 25% over what you think you need to make up for the dry times. So hopefully that helps. Umesh asks, in Divi Builder, having no option to add a carousel. We have a slider on there, I think is the closest that we got to a straight up carousel, that you should be able to manipulate the Divi slider module to do what you want for a carousel. And Judy, that is true. I see your joke. WordPress slice to get into. It's see it. I see what you did there. So moving on to another article, and I'll come back to any stuff there for any other questions or comments. I want to get through some of these. There is at least mention them so you know that they're in there. There is a guide that Smashing Magazine did, a practical guide to SVG and design tools, because SVGs really confuse pretty much everybody. And the way that they started out is that it's a rare skill for somebody who knows how to use SVGs. So read this so that you can get a better idea of it. WP Beginner has a how to crop, rotate, and scale images in WordPress, which we all need to know how to do occasionally, even if you're like me and end up becoming so addicted to Snagit that you just put everything in there and just re-upload stuff. And then Cats Who Code ended up doing a really cool article on taking the human out of human resources, how chatbots can streamline HR strategies. And it's a dense article, but it's something that I think we're all going to have to get used to using bots and chatbots more over the coming years, because they ease up just enough stress that people can solve their own problems with the help of the machine learning AI. I don't think that chatbots are ever going to replace, full-on customer support for a long time. But I think that that if your company and HR and whoever else it is uses chatbots, it's an interesting think piece on that one. And then their Torque Mag did one called How to Become a More Customer-Centric Agency in 2019. I loved this one. And this one kind of goes back to what we were talking with you, Devjeet, about starting the business out, what you can do. This is one where it's like to be customer centric is not what I thought going into this article. Initially, I thought it was going, dealing with your clients one-on-one, getting large customer support team, being there. And the more I thought about it, the more I read this, that's not true. What they say, and it's a really good idea, is increase self-service options. And now I know, y'all, hear me out. But they talk about clients liking to feel in control. But one thing that you can do is there's a plugin they talk about called Client Portal, where you give people just enough tools to solve minor problems. You'll have noticed stuff like that in the live chat that we have for Elegant Theme support, where while you're waiting on a representative, we'll offer up wiki articles or blog posts that could address this issue for you. It may not work, but we want to make sure that you're not waiting on a response for something that you could read about and be like, oh, there's a snippet of code, you copy and paste and you do that. that's the kind of thing like self-service options. I know if I'm able to do stuff on my own without talking to customer support at most businesses, I'll do it like almost every time. And that's what they're talking about being customer centric, is by opening up and letting the customer do what they need to do. And number two, and we've talked about this before, listen to what they have to say. And this is something I know that you guys, that I like about this stream, is because I know that there are members of the team watching. I know that I watch and talk about what you guys say. And it's like, we listen to the things that you're wanting. And even if there are minor requests, like I don't even know, if a company listens and sees that that's something a lot of people want, it's no longer a minor request, even though it might take less time to fix. The way they put it, but that's what they say for the client who's handling hundreds of daily sales. Each minor issue can add up to several $1,000s of lost sales. And so you need to be able to take criticism, but also listen and look at it from the customer's point of view. And then talking about making it personal, really personalize what you can do. I like getting birthday messages from companies. I don't know why. It makes me happy. I just like being told happy birthday, that kind of thing, when it's my birthday. It's like, oh, cool, you do that. But it's also talking about when not to listen. Henry, they use the Henry Ford quote that I really love. If I had asked people what they wanted, he was the creator of the automobile. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And that's true. He didn't ask them. He made the car. It's like, oh yeah, that's better than faster horses. Steve Jobs took a similar approach. Not necessarily. They used the iPad. Said that pushing the iPad at a time when no customer had ever considered an item. I would say the iPhone, because we didn't know that we wanted one that did what it does and how it does it. But the iPad, to this day, I still don't need an iPad. I've got a Kindle Fire tablet because it was cheap, and I could ask for it for Christmas and not feel bad. But generally, it's like, I don't need that. I've got a phone and a computer. But that kind of thing, if you have a good idea, don't listen to them if they're saying that that's what they want. But that's what it is, how to become more customer centric. I also see some questions and comments. Rylan says, has a site with Divi that works fine on PC, that you have a site that works with Divi. I can't talk or read. A site with Divi that works fine on PC and Android tablet, but not Android mobile and iPhone. Any idea what the problem might be? Uncle Social asks what breaks. In mobile, you see most code. That's weird. That is definitely a live chat support, because my first idea was that the breakpoints in the builder were off, but when it starts to show you the code instead of rendering it, that is absolutely a live chat support. If you have the most updated version of Divi, not even most updated, but a recently updated version of Divi, there is an option in the support backend where you can open a token with us, and the support can get into your backend and see what's going on with the website that way. That's the best way, it's the quickest way and the easiest way, and it is secure between just us and you, so there's nothing that's actually even transmitted like that. So it's awesome for that, and this is exactly the kind of thing that feature is designed for. So I would look for that and check out the live chat. It's that's not supposed to happen. I agree, that's weird, Uncle Social. So that's just really weird. Like, I see. Okay, so I have a question about that while I'm thinking about it here. Do you see the code when you're not in the Divi builder, like just the web page itself you see the code, or is it when you're in the builder that you see the code? Let me know about that, because I say this, and this morning I had an issue with a site where I had the module with the code in it. I saw the code in the builder, but when I opened up the page itself, it rendered because it just wasn't rendering within the builder. But it's on the main page for you, then yeah, since it's on the main page for you, call support. Go to live chat. That is absolutely live chat if you're seeing that. William Patton says if you see code rendered, there's usually a broken escape somewhere, and shortcodes are the main culprit. And Divi is built off of shortcode, so there is a potential for that. It's weird that the breakpoints would do that because of the way that they're done, but could be. Live chat will be able to help you fix and target that particular issue. I see Coach First says you have to adjust for tablet and mobile. I go back to WordPress before Gutenberg. I've been using Gutenberg on side projects, and I am a believer in what it has the potential to do. I like writing in Gutenberg better than I like writing in almost anything else right now, just in terms of general posts. I like it. It makes me kind of sad to say it. It's fun to write in. So take that as you will. I was a very big detractor at first, so but that is something to keep. Try it. I don't use it for a lot of design stuff. I still go Divi. It does not hold a candle to Divi in that regard. Unforced Rhythms on Facebook, Ryland says, I've had it happen in the builder and on the front end, and when they refresh it, it goes away. That might be something. Try it if you haven't hard refreshed or emptied the browser cache or the site cache. That's always an issue as well, or a potential fix. So I'm running out of time. We've talked about a bunch of stuff, which is awesome. There's just to give you some rundown on some of the different things that are in the rest of the articles. WPMU Dev has an article I would like to point out. That's the second from the bottom under tutorials. That's how to improve the first contentful and meaningful paint. And what that means is how to improve the first things that are loaded on your website. It is the very first things that are rendered and put up there, how to make it and the most efficient and meaningful that it could be. And then under the resources, the very, very first one, interviewing for a technical position doesn't have to be scary. Talking from a hiring manager's perspective on what they look forward to and what they look for in a candidate. And surprisingly enough, he says ironically, they're talking about they are looking at who the person is more than just the skills on the resume. Theme Forests freebie this month is a premium Woocommerce plugin. And then I did an article that I did this article. I'm saying it's one of mine because I didn't know about it really prior to doing it. That 10 programming fonts, like if you're a developer using CSS and any of the code editors every day, there are so many different fonts that are designed specifically to make it easier to write and read code that it's ridiculous. And we put together the 10 best of them. Specifically, Fira Code is great. Like, it is beautiful, y'all. Look at some of these. Free graphic design software, and then a couple of books and like making the move from jQuery to Vue. So before I head out of here, I want to address some of these comments. I say address, but I guess respond to, talk with you. I don't know. I always feel like I'm doing it like it's so formal like that. But first, Nixon says, sorry I came late, but what about the Woocommerce module that they showed the other times? That's coming soon. The last I heard was soon. And so we should be seeing it on the horizon with the Divi Woocommerce modules and update. I see Debjeet asks, should I learn React? Does it help to customize Divi? It can. I would say not to dive into React learning unless you are planning on working into our developer hooks. If you are planning on putting together new Divi modules, if you want to program new plugins and themes that tie directly into Divi and Gutenberg, because Gutenberg is written in React as well, those are the kinds of things that React would be good for. When we open up the marketplace for third-party plugins and things like that, those kinds of things would be good to have React with, but it's not necessary. It's not something that I would put a priority on. If you're looking to customize Divi, you'll get probably more mileage out of getting really good with just regular old JavaScript and CSS. And digging into the Divi options like Donyeta and Jason do, because they're wizards. The stuff they do without code blows my mind. But that would be the way I look at it. React is cool. React is kind of fun. It does cool things, but it is not necessary. And it's a developer thing more than a designer thing, I think. So with that, I would like to thank you for coming out. I really appreciate the comments, everybody. I really appreciate the discussion, and honestly, the help that you guys provide to each other. I appreciate you. It's so wonderful to see y'all come together and help each other out. It's insane. I just love the community that y'all are a part of, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So before I go, I will. Debjeet says, I want to learn a JavaScript framework, and React is what I'm learning currently. If you're working in WordPress and you're working in Divi, I would say React is by far the best one, because that's going to be the standard in terms of that. If you're already learning a JavaScript framework, React is the best one, at least in my opinion. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I will see you guys next Friday. Remember that we have a live stream every Tuesday on a use case scenario with Divi with either Jason or Donyeta at 3 p.m. Eastern time, that you'll be able to see that and ask questions again, see what's going on with Divi. When we have a new feature, there is always a max stream on Monday mornings at 6 a.m. Eastern, and then every Friday afternoon I am here with the Weekly WP Roundup, talking about anything that was published that week, answering your questions, and just getting to know you guys. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week, and I will see you next week. Bye, y'all.